Hey, wake up! It's time to start the show. Glad to see you all aboard Mouse Ears in Paradise. Let's get this show rolling.
Welcome to Mouse Ears in Paradise. I'm Dave.
And I'm Becky. Hello.
Hello, we're back.
We're back. I know. Feels like we've been gone a really long time.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit off of our cadence just because of the way the trip fell and stuff like that. So, it's been a little longer gap than usual, but
that's okay.
It's okay. It's the way it goes.
It's part of the gig.
So we went on our annual, I guess, February cruise is what it's becoming.
Mm-hmm. I know. I love this new tradition in our family. It's great.
So here we are, and we're going to share kind of what that was like, kind of each of the ports, and comparing it to the other experiences on the cruise ships. So this was our fourth cruise with Disney as a family.
Yes.
So we are still silver. Castaway.
Yeah, still silver. We're working on it, guys.
We're working on it. So it was on a fantasy 5 nights. 5
nights. I like that you don't know.
Well, I don't know. There's 5 days, 5 nights. I don't know. So, yeah. So what was it? Where did we go? What did we do?
So it was a Bahamian cruise out of Port Canaveral. 5 nights on the Fantasy over February break. So the boat was full. But that's part of the deal. Like, we knew that going in. That's not a criticism. That's just reality.
Yeah. There's nothing we can do about it.
Correct.
Because this is when we could go.
We can choose to enjoy it or choose not to. Yeah. So overall, very, very similar, obviously, to the Dream. I did not enjoy it quite as much as I enjoyed the Dream. I can't quite say why.
Okay. Was it maybe just because it felt familiar and not necessarily an exciting way?
I mean, we're going to launch right into this, but on the Dream, I really, really enjoyed Pink, which is the champagne bar.
Okay.
And this one has Ooh La La, which is also the champagne bar. And
they had the same drink.
They did have the same drink, but I felt like the ambiance in Pink was just far superior. Like, we on the Dream Cruise went every night and there was live music, and I really liked that part of it. When we went down to Ooh La La, which did not happen quite as much as we would have liked it to, because our children really enjoyed being with us. But the live music was not in that portion of the bar area. So that to me was a little bit of a, like, do you remember this? You're looking at me like I'm strange.
No.
It was out in Europa, and you could still hear it, but they're just, I don't know. I really enjoyed that time that we had together. And Pink was a lot more lit up. And so we actually got to talk to other people.
Right. It was a little more inviting to talk to other people.
And that was fun. And so this was not like that. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Still, one of my favorite drinks on the Disney cruise ships is the passion fruit champagne.
Pomegranate passion.
Pomegranate passion. Thank you.
Yeah. So I felt like it was less secluded. Yeah. At the same time too, where it's very kind of open to that Europa, where I don't remember it being that open into the other bars in Pink. So. And
I did find the lines to meet the characters excessively long on this cruise. Like, we really did not meet.
We didn't meet nearly as many.
Yeah, because most of the time I walk by, I was like, I'll pass.
Yeah.
But, that's probably a week. Like, some of this is just an age difference in our kids, I think. I thought it was nice. It's a nice boat. We didn't at all visit the sweet shop, which we did on the Dream, I think a little bit more frequently, which was kind of interesting. They just didn't have anything overly...
Yeah,
we got
visited.
One thing.
We went in there.
We bought one cookie, yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. Like, there just was less to do. I felt like there was less to do than we had on the Dream.
It did feel like there was less programming. And I don't know if that was because of the itinerary or what the case was, but it did feel like there was less going on the ship in, for as far as trivia and those kinds of
animation things.
Yeah, like it just didn't
show up. And I don't really know why that was.
Yeah.
but there was less for sure.
But I did feel like the boat was or ship. I know it's sacrilegious to call it a boat. But I felt like the ship was in good condition. Like our room, I didn't feel like it was noisy, creaky, rattly.
It was one of the nicer rooms we've had.
Yeah. So I will give them that. Even though they're going in the dry dock
dock
in October. I don't know what for specifically, but I did think that was good.
Yep.
Like it didn't feel old.
No.
It kind of felt surprising it was going in dry dock. Like, okay.
Yeah. So it was nice. We had a lovely time.
Yes.
Lovely
no regrets.
time.
We did
Zero
not regret
regrets. Zero regrets. It just was. And the food was similar to all the other ships that we've been on, right? So dining was very much the same. We did have a fantastic server who enjoyed.
There's probably second so far of our 4. It was number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the staff were all great. I can't think of any complaints.
None.
The staff.
Not a complaint.
So it was interesting. So I think we talked about it in the previous episode, but on Facebook, there's unofficial Facebook groups that get formed. And so that was, we joined that. And then it spun off into a WhatsApp group that happened during the cruise, which was new to me. This is the first time out of 4 cruises that happened. So it was interesting to get more live, up-to-date kind of play-by-play input from other people, get other people's perspectives. And it was interesting because there was at least one individual who said that they've, done a ton of cruises, and this is, I want to say it was like their 16th time on the Fantasy, and they think it's got the best staff and everything, which it's good staff. I have no complaints against, but I just thought it was interesting because I didn't necessarily feel there was a strong differentiator from our in general. Like, yes, our server was second best of what we've had, but that's going to be so hit or miss.
I know.
For every individual and experience, but yeah. But yeah, otherwise it was interesting to be part of that WhatsApp group. It was helpful to kind of get a vibe of what's going on, where things are, and people were talking about things, and I kind of looked it up on the map to figure out, what are they talking about? And we ended up doing some exploring because of that. So that was good. It was good. Yeah,
it was. So I thought we could talk a little bit about just kind of Castaway and Lookout. I think that's really the big thing, right? So we did go to Lookout Cay, Lookout Point,
Lighthouse
Point on Lookout Cay.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Lighthouse Point.
Yeah. Okay. It's all very confusing, and it's still confusing when you get there. So,
so that was our last stop.
Yeah. So our day
last
one.
Port.
I mean, you get on the boat day 1, technically. Day 2 was Nassau. We stayed on the boat. Dave and I ate at Palo while the kids played.
Fantastic Palo
always
experience.
It's always great. I'm ready for dinner. I think I'm ready to move into dinner.
Or Remy.
Or Remy. Yeah, either one. We might have to set that as a goal. I think that's coming on our next trip. But it was, so Drew, they have on these boats, the Dream and the Fantasy, they have the detective agency where you can solve the mysteries of, there's a Muppets one, and there's a Mickey Mouse one, and there's a Villains one, and you go and you figure out who done it. Right. And so our youngest, Drew, this was his obsession. And so by the end of day 2, the Nassau day, Drew had completed all 3. Which was ended up being really a great thing. He'd been talking about it for weeks, that was what he wanted to do. So when we first got on the boat, a lot of people will use the strategy of let's go visit the pool, because not everyone remembers to pack their swimsuit. And we did do a little bit of that, but Drew really was on this detective agency kick. And so we had them all done, all 3 by day 2. And that ended up being a good thing, because by the time they got to the day at sea, when clearly a lot of people did it, the line was 6 people deep at each picture to do I would have been frustrated at that point. So that is a pro tip, that if that's important to you, that's a good thing to do on the earlier side of the trip.
Don't save it for a sea day.
Don't save it for a sea day.
Because everybody else will.
Everybody else will. Go ahead and you don't have to do it all at once. You can kind of break it up. Our kids did this time a lot of it alone, which was kind of nice. So Annika took Andrew around doing it for part of the time. That was a real gift while we were in Palo. That's the connection here. So Andrew wanted to leave the kids club, and so our oldest was able to get him, take him around. They did some detective agency that day. I think we actually got on, did we get on the aqueduct that day? We got on the aqueduct a couple of times
I think
that
so.
day. Weather was nice. It was great. A great day in Nassau. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, we did not get off in Nassau.
We did not get off in Nassau. Yeah.
And then the next stop was Castaway.
Yeah. So we had planned to do the Stingray Adventure we had done the Stingray Adventure once before, but Andrew was 3. And so he was not able to participate. So this is the first year he could do it. So he did it again. Mm-hmm. I think this was a little bit more of a superior experience, actually, partly because we knew a little bit more what to expect.
Yeah. Okay.
And we could do it all together. So last time we had to split up. So that was part of the deal, but it was, we did it. And then the girls weren't quite as afraid as they were last time. So that was really nice.
Still more afraid than you would have thought when it's your second time, but yes, less afraid.
Less afraid. And they do such a great job, right? You get to go out, and the water wasn't super warm. I want to say it was a high of 73 that day outside. And then the water was probably, 68, 69, I'm going to guess.
And this was kind of on the earlier side of the day.
Yeah, at 11.
Yeah, so it was still warming up.
Yeah. The water at Castaway is not overly warm in February. If you are a Midwesterner used to swimming in the Great Lakes, it is about as warm as the Great Lakes ever get. So you think, this isn't bad. But if you're accustomed to going to like Hawaii or some of the more southern Caribbean islands, it will feel chilly. But it wasn't intolerable by any sort. We all were fully submerged in the water. So you get to pet the stingrays, and then you go snorkeling with the stingrays. And that was really, really fun. The kids loved it. And yeah, overall, great experience.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you have any interest in doing it. It's a fun experience.
Yeah. And the thing that I love about Castaway, so we're on the Fantasy. It is not the biggest ship, but it was a very full ship. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, I never have found Castaway to be overwhelming. Like, you get off the boat, we found nice chairs. We don't need to be at the front. I don't need to be in the front line of chairs. Like,
right.
That's not what my needs are. Maybe if my kids were littler, I might have different feelings about that. But we're pretty content as long as we have some shade. And we have walked up every time and found a set of 3 or 4 chairs together under an umbrella or under a palm tree. Like, we just have not had issues. And we did not get off the boat first thing. Mm-mm. I would say we were off around 10:30 that morning, maybe. The characters were still out, so it wasn't super late.
Yeah. And I bet you we could have found even more seating if we'd gone down further. Mm-hmm. But because we got off at the first stop for the Stingray, we were kind of already set up there, and so we stayed there for the whole day. But I bet you if we'd gone further down, we probably would have had more success. Yeah. I mean, it's generally in the past we have. So
lunch was typical Castaway lunch. You go get your food. There's, we didn't really have a line this time. Last time we were there, we had a much more significant line. Found a place to sit, no problem. Some issues with like the ice being run out, or some of the soda machines weren't totally working, but it's an island. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I was never upset. You got a nice adult beverage.
Yeah. It was different. I'm 100% sure it was plastic cups last time.
100%.
And this time they were stainless steel cups that then they came around and collected later, as they were clearing the beach for everybody to get back on the ship. Which was nice because it kept it cooler. It's a little, it's more sturdy. So that was nice.
It was great.
And I think it makes sense from an ecological standpoint, which I'm guessing is one of the driving forces. Waste and trying to be ecological. So.
Yeah. So I've started telling people, like, Castaway is kind of my favorite day of the year. because it really is. It's like my favorite day of the whole year.
It's a good day.
It's a great day. Like I show up, my chair is waiting for me. I'm in the shade. I can walk down to the beach. The water is nice. The water is clear. I kind of have the run of whatever I want to do. And if I'm not right next to my children, it's fine. Like we watch them. We're still parenting. Don't get the wrong idea. But when I'm sitting in the last row of seats, I feel very comfortable sending our 9-year-old down to the beach. I have no qualms about it. So all of that's important to know, I feel like, in understanding our review of Lookout, right? Because this is our first trip to Lookout. It was the following day, and I will give a disclaimer. It might have had a different review if we had Castaway Sea Day Lookout. I think there might have been a little bit more.
It was just a little too close to Castaway. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking because I think everyone would have benefited from a day on the boat. So we have very picky eaters in our family. So feeding people is very challenging. We make it work on the cruise for a variety of reasons. But we got to Lookout, and I did make everybody get up at a reasonable. I think we made everyone get up at 9:30, maybe.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't as early as the day before because we had to kind of line everything up to be on the island for the Stingray experience.
Yeah.
And so I think we were a little bit more pushy on that day. But yeah, I feel like it was a little later that day, so maybe 9:30.
And we were prepared for the walk on the pier, so that is a walk. I'm going to say it took us 15 minutes probably from the ship to
the and
tram.
they do have wagons now. They have plastic wagons so that you can tow your children.
They did not have any wagons when we got off the boat.
No.
So that is worth noting. That might have changed the trajectory of the day.
Because they all get dragged to the other end of it, and then they have to drag them back.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a whole thing. So it can be hit or miss.
And we were prepared for that. Now, I will also say I didn't zero research on Lookout, mostly because I wanted to be surprised. Like, I don't know. Disney's kind of weird. You can really be over. Like sometimes you just know too much. Like we'll talk in a later episode about our Disney World trip, and we did ride Guardians of the Galaxy, and I had done zero research on it, watched zero ride throughs. Like I had no clue, and that was really fun to just not know. That
was not how you felt.
That was not how I felt about Lookout. We probably should have done some more research. Like I just was unaware of the amount of time it would take. So we fed everybody before we left. And I thought, at Castaway, we can leave our things at our chair. We go get lunch and we come back. Like it's not even a thing. And I'm not worried about on Lookout somebody taking our things. There just was no place to leave our things. So you take the 15-minute walk, and then you get on a tram, and it wasn't even clear. Like, where do I get my towels? What am I supposed to do? Because when you get off the boat at Castaway, they just hand them to you right away. But now I'm all the way getting on the tram. I see no towels. Well, so you have to ask, you didn't have to, but I asked. I'm like, hey, where are the towels? They're like, oh, they're at the end of the stop. I'm like, okay, that would have been nice to know. But okay, so we get on the tram. And it's like a 10, 15-minute tram ride.
Yeah, it was surprisingly long.
Surprisingly long. So now we're a half hour into the day without even seeing the beach, right? So get off at the tram, and then Emma has she needs to get to the Kleenex. She needs to blow her nose. So we need to find a bathroom. And there's no signage. There's no signage at all.
What signage there would be these really small, clearly temporary ad hoc signs that had been made.
Yeah.
There were some large, here's the big picture of the whole island, but those were rare. They were there, but you didn't know where to find them. But I bet you I saw 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
But they were hard to find. And so you'd be walking on the path and you're like, left or right? No idea. What's left? Don't know. What's right? Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea where we're going or what we're doing.
It was bizarre.
It was weird. And there was an expectation that you must just know. And you could use your app, but you don't want to be looking like at Google Maps while you're trying to walk around.
I know. So it's all boardwalk. And to me, honestly, what it felt like they took World Showcase with no pavilions and planted it on this island. Like it's just walkways everywhere to try and find where you're trying to go. So
Castaway has kind of this rustic vibe to it, right? Like you're kind of on this, you're maybe on this, someplace that had been a resort for a really long time, and like it's got a lot of character to it, and it's clearly been used for decades and decades and decades and decades, even though it hasn't.
Yeah.
But it's themed that way,
right?
But not in like a rundown way, but more of just like it's got a lot of weather and character to it. Whereas this was overly polished and very cement buildings and
just lots of boardwalk.
Brutalist, almost kind of, it felt like architecture.
And you know what it was? It was all tan. Like it's all beige.
Very mono.
Just beige.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't discern what thing was what. So we end up finding a bathroom. And okay, fine. So then we our strategy at Castaway and really any other beaches, let's go find a place to sit on the beach.
Yeah, set up home base.
And then everybody can kind of go from there. So we head on down to the beach, and
we tried to go to the far end.
We tried to go to the end.
Just assuming people are, going to stop or, first thing they see. And we're going to go all the way to the end because that works well at Castaway.
Yeah.
So we're going to try that here. So we went almost all the way to Serenity, which is the adult only section. And
there's like no chairs.
There's no chairs.
There's no shade. There's nowhere
and where there are chairs, there's no shade.
Yeah.
And then there's water and there's the beach there. And so there's some chairs there, but not much, but there's a lot of sand, a lot of beach. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a berm. And then beyond that berm, then there's a bunch of lounge chairs and shade, but the berm blocks the wind. So it's pretty kind of stale and warm there in the sun, like kind of almost
too warm.
Uncomfortable and
in
undesirable. In February.
Yeah.
And then past that section, then you get to like where the food or bar or whatever kind of thing. And that kind of is like the theme across the whole Lookout Point that's the way that it is. It's water, beach, berm, more seating, and then everything else. And so apparently, which, our friends, the Bronsteins, had been there 2 weeks earlier. They had found out that they went to the far end as well, but the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. And there's a family beach. If you go towards the lighthouse, we went away from the lighthouse. If you go towards the lighthouse, there's much more space. You would probably need to drag some chairs down to over the berm and down there, but it was way more open and much more comfortable down there because it was pretty crowded too. It
was so packed.
But
it felt more crowded at Lookout than I ever felt on the ship.
Yeah, it did. You really felt the crowds there, which again is like, this is the newest thing. You would think they'd lessons learned from previous things. Like did not feel that way. And still there was down at the family beach, again, even less shade, I would say, was available there, but you had space and you could kind of probably make your own type of thing. But no shade anywhere kind of close to water. And then the other unfortunate thing was it was a red flag day at the island. So that means the water was super choppy. And this wasn't like, we go to Maui all the time. And so there's, you get the breaks and, then you get these waves and you can get undertows and stuff. It wasn't like that at all. This was just constant waves, small waves that were rolling in. So it's not protected like Castaway.
It was very interesting. It was like Lake Michigan, which I felt like this is the water was gorgeous.
It was beautiful.
The water temperature and the air temperature probably were the same. And I bet they were both 78. So I get that part and I get why people like it. But man, Drew struggled a little bit and he's a good swimmer.
Yeah, he does the swim team in the summer. He knows how to do strokes and stuff.
Yeah, and we take our kids into 5-foot swells in Maui, and it's not an issue.
And in Lake Michigan, they go onto that all the time. So they have experience in open
for
water.
Sure. So I felt like Disney just really they missed the mark on a couple of things. I felt like they could have done, like, there are solutions to these problems, right? They could hand out, like, there's no reason that Disney can't have a stack of Tommy Bahama umbrellas and Tommy Bahama chairs that they can put, even if I have to pay somebody $10 to bring it down to the, there's no reason they can't have that and some Tommy mats to, like, put down on, like, it doesn't need to be this way, right? They can put up signs that, and like, that are readable and you can see
about where to get to and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I felt like most of all, they could have, like, when you got off the boat, they could have had, like, hey, heads up, it's a red flag day, or, like, I don't know. I don't know that it would have turned us around necessarily.
Because it wasn't until you got down to the beach by the lifeguard stands that you saw that it was a red flag, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that would have been good info 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, and so, like, that's unfortunate. Like, that's not they can't control as a red flag,
no.
But which means it's going to be, more dangerous waters, like, as far as swimming, like, more or less you maybe shouldn't go in the water.
I mean, that's what they're implying. It wasn't that bad.
It was not that bad.
But there was not going to be any snorkeling. Like, it was, people could not snorkel.
No, I didn't see anybody snorkeling. I didn't see life jackets, but I know that there were a handful of them at the lifeguard station, but just a handful. There were. Yeah. I thought that was kind of
I don't know where you had to get them. I saw people go up and get them from various places, but they kind of advertise a lot about, like, the little mini water park, and that should be noted that that's like a kid's playground, not like Royal has a water park on their
this was more
island.
Of a splash pad.
Totally a splash
with
pad.
a jungle gym.
Yeah. And it's cute and nice, and the kids played on it for 10 minutes.
But they said the water was too cold.
Yeah. Yeah. So there just was a lot of things that I was
kind
like,
of death of 1,000 cuts type
it
of
really
thing.
was. It really was. And then we ended up just cutting our losses. Like, this, all the kids are like, where are we going now? Why are we walking here?
The kids weren't in the mood either, right? Like, for whatever reason, it was just all these factors put together. So some of it was the red flag, the wind. That's nobody's fault. The kids weren't in the mood, which did not help to the situation at all. They tried, like, they both went into the water play area. They all tried the beach and the water and stuff, but for some reason, it just was not. People were not feeling it. It was
overstimulating.
Yeah,
part of it was the crowds. It was just so packed.
Yeah,
it was so packed, and I wish, like, Disney could have prepared people for, like, I don't know how you do that, but there has to be a better way of, like, understanding what everything is. Like, you go in the app and you look at some of the stuff, and it's just not even clear what everything is supposed to be. And again, this is where I feel like I guess I should have done my research a little bit better. Like, it sounds like we were within a couple of minutes of, like, the play bash or whatever at the play pavilion. We probably should have stayed and done that. But you end up in a situation of, like, you've got to get food. The boat is 30 minutes away. The buffet closes at a certain time. Like, there's no way. There was no way to feed everybody and stay and then keep going. Like, I don't know how we would have resurrected that. Now, it's funny because we went back to the boat and, like, the wait for the aqueduct was, like, 10 minutes. Like, everything was blissfully empty.
The day was saved for us. Like, but we were pretty underwhelmed by Lookout Cay. And it's not that we will never do it again, but I think we need some space for it.
We need some space. Well, I mean, it's to the point that we're choosing a cruise for next year, and I will not choose a cruise that goes there and doesn't visit Castaway. Now, if it goes to both, great, but I'm not going to pick the cruise that only goes to Lookout and Nassau. Yeah. Like, it's just, that's
maybe it's just Lookout's not a good place to go in February, right? Like, maybe it's a February issue is like, it's going to be great during the summer or, I don't know, fall or whatever, but February maybe isn't a good time, or we just had a really bad luck. It
could have been us.
it's possible.
So I do think, like, we kind of talked about what will we do next time. I think next time, if and when we go to Lookout, we'll have a slow morning on the boat. We will eat lunch on the boat. And if we go out, we'll head out around 1:30, 2 o'clock and go to the beach for an hour and then come back. Because the boat doesn't leave till 4:45, right? So you don't have to be off the beach until 4:15. If you're there at 2 hours on that beach is more than enough. And yes, they have some cool parade. And yes, they have other things to do. But because it's so warm, like I just can't. I can't like be out there sweating. Hanukkah at one point was like, can we just go to the water? I'm just sweating.
Yeah. There isn't a ton of shade. Now, I kind of wonder if that's partially because it's new and so vegetation hasn't grown in. Like, 10 years from now, there's going to be all these trees perhaps that are going to provide a lot more shade. I mean, there is some shade, but not a ton. There are umbrellas along the beach in parts of the beach, but they're obviously very few and highly sought after.
And even that boardwalk doesn't have shade. Like, no. And I understand that it's hurricane like places, but there's no reason they can't have some sail shades up there. Like
something they could take
up and down. And so I don't know. It was disappointing. Frankly.
Yeah, it didn't feel Disney, honestly. Yeah. It didn't have a Disney vibe to me or even feel like a Caribbean kind of theme to me. It felt generic and to me.
Beige. Just beige.
It's a lot of beige. I mean, it seemed like it was well made and it's going to be sturdy and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what kind of constraints they were put under. I know, part of why we have a 15-minute pier walk is because of constraints that they were under. Yep. Maybe there's similar things that kind of created the design and layout and stuff like that.
For sure. So anyways, it was a bummer. Yeah. But we still had a nice time.
Yeah. And there were plenty of people having a great time at Lookout and general reports where people had fun and a good time. But for some reason, our family, it just did not gel that day.
It did not. It was an interesting day.
It was. It was just like we went in with all this kind of hope and excitement and it just all fizzled. It was just really kind of disappointing and unfortunate. Like, tried to resurrect it on the island multiple times, but it was
too hard.
Yeah, it just wasn't going smoothly.
So, but then we ended in a sea day. The weather changed very much, from warm to cold because we came into a cold front in Florida. But also a good day. We saw Captain America on the boat. That was great. What else did we do on that day? Feel like we did some trivia maybe that day. Here again, it felt like there just wasn't much programming. Like in the past, we've gone to a lot of Pixar trivia during the day or Disney theme park trivia during the day as a family. And there just were not, they didn't have that. It was bizarre.
Yeah. And even on that day, there was in the movie theater, like I feel like usually there's just like tons of movies all day long back to back. And there was like in the morning, it was the $10,000 bingo jackpot, which was holy cow. That place was packed. Yeah. Standing room only. It was crazy, totally unexpected. And then there were 2 showings of the Captain America movie in the afternoon, and that was it.
Yeah, normally I feel like there's a kids movie that we go see that's really fun. There was no kid
not
and
on
I
that
understand the Captain America thing. Like I get that.
But they had shown it in the big theater, the big Disney show theater the night before.
There was not many people there.
And that wasn't even that full. So I don't feel like the demand was really there.
No, I don't either. I mean, it's a little bit scary if you've got young kids.
Yeah,
you have to have the right kid to take that to, like, Emma has zero interest in that.
Yeah, and Drew had zero interest.
Yeah, zero. Drew's like, absolutely not. So, yeah, Kids Club was great. They did a really nice job.
Yeah, there was a lot more Star Wars, I feel like, in this one.
Yeah, he loved that. You could drive the spaceship and That was cool. So we did utilize Disney transportation to and from.
Yeah. So what did you think about that?
So I really enjoyed the two. So the first night we stayed at Art Animation. We just had one night. That place is a zoo. Like, holy cow.
It's our second time there, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it's dense. And that's, they consider it a value resort, right?
Yep, it is. And you feel that. Like, I know we're snobby. I'm sorry, you guys. We do normally stay at a deluxe DVC resort. We pay cash, but we normally stay at a villa resort. And the room was great. The kids thought it was the coolest
They
thing.
loved it.
They're like, this is amazing. Why don't we stay here all the time? Like, they loved it. And they thought it was really fun that we were in a Lion King room. And it was great. And it slept the family well. The beds are great. Like, they do a good job. 2 bathrooms, which I really appreciate. The food court was crowded. They do offer mobile order, which I did not think about when we went to get dinner. But we did utilize for breakfast. So
and that worked well,
actually.
Yeah.
But Disney transportation, they say to have your luggage ready at 7 a.m. So we're coming in from California, right? And we get up at like 6:30, Dave and I and Annika, so we can shower and get ready. And nobody picked up our luggage until like 8:30. I was like, are you kidding me?
But you don't know. They could be there right at 7:01 or something. And
I know. So it was fine. But I did like that they came and got our luggage from the room, and I didn't have to touch it again until we got on the boat.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yep.
And I will do that every time we leave from Port Canaveral. Stay on Disney property and then because it's just easy with 5 of us. If it was just you and me, I might feel different. Right. But even then, it was just so great to have somebody else manage that problem.
Yeah, and we just didn't really have to. It was one of those you just don't have to think a whole lot about it. You go to the front desk. There's a DCL table there, and you check in. They say, okay, you're going to be in this group. You get on this bus. Get on the bus. And
bye-bye.
They have
Hello,
Disney
port.
Entertainment on the bus, and you get there. You get off the bus. You get right into line. It just was very smooth, very simple. But on the way back, it was there was really no value add.
No, that's how I felt too. So I don't know that I would utilize it again on the way back. So it's like, I think it's like, I don't know, what is it? It's got to be like $45 a piece now to take it. It was, we don't know. We paid it. I don't know what it cost.
We knew we were doing it, so it wasn't about like, was this the cheaper solution? It was more of, this seemed like the smart thing to do.
They said you had to be off the boat at 8:15. Is that right?
Oh, we had to be on the bus at 9.
Yeah, you had to be on the bus by 9.
And we had to be out of our rooms by 8.
Yes. So traditionally, what we have done is we have been out of our rooms by 8 and then taken everybody to get breakfast.
Yeah, and to take our time.
And then we've left and tried to be in line to get off the boat by 9. So you're, 9:15, 9:30, you're in a car of some kind. In retrospect, I would use Disney to go, and on the return, just because we have 5 of us, I probably would just hire a car next time. I felt like there was so first of all, we were really fortunate. We got on the bus. We sat for 30 minutes because they say they won't leave until 9, which you would think it would be like, fill up the bus, send them, fill up the bus, send them, but it's not. And then they were going to like 4 resorts.
Thankfully, we were the first.
And we were lucky we were the first one. I was like, oh, Lordy.
But here's the thing is like, we didn't see the luggage till we got on the boat on the way there. But on the way back, we still had to go pick up our luggage at the port, go through customs, which makes sense. Like, it makes sense. And then we had to carry it to the bus, get it on the bus.
Yeah.
So there was like, I'm going to have to do that whether I do any other transportation. So like, there was no real benefit there like there was always. So then we're getting on the bus. We're sitting there. We had to be there early. We're sitting there. And we got to our resort, which, that all went smoothly and great. But yeah.
Yeah. I would do private next time.
Yeah. So. Unless there's some like, it's cheaper if you do round trip or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. Like it was safe. And they still have the Disney videos. Like everything is but the kids at that point didn't care. They just wanted internet. And so it just was different. But not a terrible solution. Like still, if it's only two of you, I'd probably still do it because it's that much cheaper than doing a private transfer. But when you're paying for 5 people, it gets a lot closer as to what you're paying. And so I probably would do something else next time. But yeah, we made it. And on to Saratoga Springs.
And on to Saratoga Springs. But we're not going to talk about that.
We're
this
not.
Time.
But
No.
it was great.
But overall, it was a great cruise. Like
It
we
was.
really, I know that there was maybe a lot of negativity about the Lookout, and I think some of that was just us and our luck on that day. But
But I also want
overall, it was a
families
good
to
trip.
know it's
Yeah,
not
it's-
the same. Like
do your research on it. Do better than us.
do
Did research on it. Yeah. Think about the things we were talking about. Go towards the next time I'm going to go towards the lighthouse, and
Yeah.
I'm going to maybe be more prepared. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to be thoughtful about how I prepare for that day.
yeah.
Whereas, and maybe Disney's still working on some of these things, right? Like
Yeah.
we didn't have issues with flies for a while. People were complaining
Yeah.
about flies on the island. It was too windy, I think, for the baby flies. But, I think they're working on things. They're making
know.
things better. They added the carts, right?
Yeah.
To get kids to and from. So, hopefully Disney can improve it and maybe there'll be
Yeah.
more shade. All right. Well, hopefully that was informative to people, or at least going to make people do some more research or something. I don't know. Hopefully it was enlightening to people. But now it is time for our magical moments.
Are you ready? Mine's from the cruise. Is that a problem?
No, mine is too.
Oh, good. Mine is, and it is what it is. But every night, so we would ask kids like, "Hey, what did you enjoy about today, or what was the best part about being today?" And every time we asked Drew, he'd be like, "My favorite part of the day was being with you all day." And I thought, like, I was a little bit frustrated that like he was not super excited about going to kids club. Like he
warmed up to it.
He did. But all the kids were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And they just don't want to miss out on
Right.
what we were doing. And it took me a little bit to be like, "Oh, actually, that's pretty great that you
Yeah.
just want to hang out with a family." And so I thought that was sweet. What's yours?
Nice. So mine was, we had been planning it, was doing the pixie dusting.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
the way I ended up doing it is taking each of the kids on their own. So just one-on-one, and we would go do a floor or, a deck of the ship, and we'd hand out the pixie dust. We didn't get a ton of pixie dust.
We
It was,
did not.
it was a little unfortunate, but, there's no guarantees, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But we were able to hand out a lot, and the kids loved doing it. They
They
really
did.
enjoyed it, and they were kind of like, well, we got to make more next time.
I know. I thought that was sweet.
It was they all kind of said, like, I like giving things to people. Like, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah, we'll
It's
take
like,
it.
Yeah, I'll take that. And yeah, it is fun to do that and to be able to hopefully create little magic for people. So I'll post pictures on our social media of, kind of the sample of the things that we were handing out as pixie dust. So check that out. You can find our socials on mouseearsinparadise.com. But yeah, so it was fun, and I'm glad I did it, and I will do more next time if I am able. It's kind of a learning process of what makes sense and
Yeah.
how I can do things at scale. If I'm going to do more, I'm going to have to do things that scale well. But it was fun. So
Cool.
yeah, it's a good time.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that's everything we have for this episode. We want to thank you for listening. You can email us at mouseearsinparadise@gmail.com. And before I forget, we had someone email us.
Oh.
Jessica, this was like 6 months ago, and asked if we wanted a postcard from Tokyo Sea. I want to say us.
Okay.
And she sent one to us, and I never thanked her on the air, and I wanted to thank her, and I've been keep meaning to, and it's like either I forget or whatever, but it hasn't happened, and I finally just want to say thank you for sending this postcard.
Aw, that's awesome.
It was, she had emailed saying, hey, can you send me a sticker? And I was like, no problem, sent it. And she's like, hey, you're sending me a sticker, you want a postcard? And so she sent a postcard, and so that was awesome. So appreciate that. Wanted to acknowledge that. You can find our social media at mouseearsinparadise.com. It's generally Mouse Ears in Paradise on anything except for X/Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, where it's Paradise Ears. So yeah. We appreciate everybody listening, and we've got more to come. We're going to have an episode talking about our Disney World adventures, which was more adventurous than we had anticipated. But everything with the Braylons is. As everything is. So we have lots to share on that, and we also will hope to bring back Dan and Becca. They went on a cruise recently too, and want to hear about their adventures on the Disney Treasure. So hopefully we'll be able to get them back, and you'll be able to hear a little bit more about the treasure and what that's like. So stay tuned.
Yay!
All right, that's everything. So we will talk to you later. Bye.
Applause. We hope you've all enjoyed the show.